call the January 23rd regular meeting of the Inlet and Beach Protection Board, special meeting, to order. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried unanimously. Approval of minutes of the December 19th, 2019 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on that? Any changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, status of the beach, inlets, and issues. Christy?
One of us?
Somebody.
I'll give you my
I
status.
didn't get enough coffee, okay?
Okay. In regard to the sand search, southern winds and waves have not been favorable for completion of surveys the way Fran was thinking they would be by now. Surveyors need a 4-day window of good weather, so they're hoping to complete soon. In the meantime, ATM is putting together other elements of the project. So we should remain on our timeline.
And they're also doing the permit updates with that, correct?
Correct.
I think testament to the fact that we've had strong southern winds and onshore waves, the rides down the beach over the last week, we've got about a 2 to 3 foot scarf pretty much all the way down on the beach. When you ride down on the beach at the low tide area where it's more firm, the wet sand beach, you got to pick your places to get up onto. But yeah, that's a consequence of that, and hopefully we'll see it equilibrate once these gales stop.
Yeah. Luckily, the last couple of days, that's the good news of the wind being out of the north, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In regard to the AIWW Inlet Crossing dredging project, the project's moving along with work taking place near Blockade Runner as of yesterday. The project is expected to continue to move west and last another 2 to 3 weeks. We would like to remind everybody that they need to stay out of that work zone. And there are signs and orange fencing to denote the work zone area.
I just wanted to pass along, when I talked to Mike last night, he said that they were removing the pipe, that it looked like they were finished.
They may have, in the past, Blockade Runner has been the point that they stopped, so they could have gotten ahead of schedule and just hadn't communicated that. The last we spoke to the person from the Corps, that was the timetable they gave us, which was 2 to 3 weeks, but that was including breakdown, so.
Okay, well, I just wanted to pass that on from Mike. Okay.
When we were there yesterday, they were near Blockade Runner, but there was no sand coming out of the pipe.
Okay.
And then with the UNCW study, a graduate student has been hired by the university for that project. According to Dr. Shiflett, they started obtaining satellite imagery from the Corps, and shoreline and inlet digitization will begin shortly.
Okay.
Florence and Michael, town staff is working daily in the grants portal. Project worksheets are being reviewed for accuracy. We are currently on our 6th project manager since we started this process. And we will meet with FEMA and the North Carolina Department of Public Safety today.
Okay.
And then with Dorian, this is one of those examples where we tell you stuff changes daily. So since the report that David gave the commissioners on Tuesday night, that has changed because Fran updated his memo and his cost estimates as of yesterday. So Fran's completing the analysis for the additional transects required. He completed the memo and cost estimate. The cost estimate is now $14,914,698 with sand losses in the central reach area of 555,297 cubic yards.
Wow.
What is your professional opinion? Do you think that the Dorian would be combined with Flow Mike, or?
I think we still have to wait to see. It took 15 months, and I don't know. You may have looked at David on that, but I'll give you my professional opinion,
just
and then
wondering.
he can give you his
Just
professional
looked in
opinion.
your general direction.
It took 15 months to get project worksheets for that, so
Right.
it just depends on timing. The other thing is with these quantities, we're going to probably have to have a sand source again, maybe an additional one, that's written into his memo for permitting. So I think it all depends on what we find this go around, how much is there, and then what we need to do a combo.
Okay.
And you go ahead. I'll be quiet now.
From a program management standpoint, the economies of scale to combine all three of them really appeal to me. It's easier and more economical if we have each one of the mobilizations on those projects is $4 million. The mobilization for one project will be $4 million.
Right.
Now, it could be $6 million or more, I mean, depending on what the bids are, and the scope of the project, you know, just if everything else is the same, and you assume that the mobilization would be the same for one project, but since it will be a larger project, it may actually be a little bit more because the machines will be bigger, possibly,
Gotcha.
don't know. But the assumption I make is that we would avoid the cost of two mobilizations. That's $8 million. That's real money. And in the context of the economies of scale and a project, that appeals to me as a manager. So we're going to have to work all of those possibilities as we move forward. But like Christy said, it took 15 months to get the draft project worksheets for Florence and Michael. We don't know how long it's going to take Dorian. So, as I've said a number of times, this could very well be a 5-year project. You know, 3 years, 5 years. There are going to be different permutations and combinations of possibilities that will go into this. But I think that, you know, what we are doing is, as Christy said, we're in the grants portal every day, several hours a day. And we'll just be up close to it and attempting to see what can be done. And it's about 11:05. But
Okay.
to answer your question, my logic is one big project is better. You know,
And at least at the state level, they realize that, because we've had those conversations where they've said to FEMA, you know, they're going to want to combine all of these, which makes sense for the reasons he was saying for
Right.
mobilization. So it's not just us saying that, but it all depends on if everything works out.
So then that everyone's on board with extending the 2-year window and all that?
we have to have the windows extended, period.
Okay.
I mean, we just have to have them. Even with the Florence Michael things, we have to have them extended just for some of the realities of the dredging availability.
Sure.
We've already requested those extensions, by the way.
Okey doke.
That was what I had in my report.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about Christie's report, or? I wanted to direct your attention to the memo, Mike's memo that's in there about the Christmas tree project. Christy, you were hands-on with that. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Last year, just I think on a whim of him being there, you can correct me if I'm not telling the story right, David. He was at Lowe's and just thought about it and went in and asked for Christmas trees. And I think last year we got about 15 or 20 after the season. So we decided that this year would be a project that we would be proactive about as far as making a request ahead of time. 3 stores were contacted in the Lowe's Corporation, and so the trees came from Southport, Charlotte, and Conway. And Steve Mercer volunteered his time to pick up trees. The Boy Scouts, there were Boys and Girl Scouts, 2 troops from Sharon United who participated, and they put out a little over 400 trees.
That's amazing and awesome. I don't know if you
That's
guys have
great.
ever looked it up, but there's studies that have been done out there that Christmas trees are actually more effective than sand fence at trapping sand. So I think it's fantastic.
The thing is that we never know how many trees they're going to be left with. So
Right.
it could be a huge undertaking like it was, or it can be a few. And we would never know that ahead of time because it's based on what they sell and what they have left. But I do know that it was in the paper that lots of communities were doing it, and we were contacted by the Beacon, but also by Oak Island because they wanted to know how we did it, because they are looking to do it. They could not get it off the ground this year, but next year.
How did they transport that many trees?
He took his trailer and made several trips.
So do we reimburse them for gas or anything along those lines?
I don't think that when he agreed to it that he planned on there being that many and that many trips, but when we initiated conversations with him, he was just planning to do that as something to give back because he believed in the project with the Boy Scouts, and it counted as a conservation project for them. So,
Well, we'll thank them next time we see them.
Just,
You know, I have a pickup truck and I would be glad to volunteer, and I know several other people that would have, but when you say 400 trees, that's a big load.
That's a big trailer.
But, you know, next year, if we need to look for volunteers, that might be something to think
Okay.
about.
okay.
Just to give you an idea, I have an artificial Christmas tree, but, I think that a Christmas tree costs $100. If you did 400 of them, that's $4,000, and normally labor's twice what the material is, so you're at $8,000 to $10,000 real quick. And even if you were to say that in looking at how long they are, and I've kind of gone through what is this worth to us. Those trees are about 6 feet long. Sand fences are about 10 feet long. If you want to say that gets you about 200 sections of sand fence, the price even goes up more in terms of the benefit for us. So the qualitative aspects of it, I don't think that you can put a price tag on, but the quantitative side of it is, I can unequivocally, without a doubt, say that's $10,000. That a benefit. And I think that qualitative side of it, as Vicki said, it's better. You can go out there and look right now, and the bottom 2 or 3 inches of those trees are already covered up. So it's a good thing. They break down environmentally. That serves as a nutrient for dune plants that it builds on top of. So it's a wonderful thing.
Okay, I had in my notes, in the past, we've talked about Public Law 116-20, which was the funding from the previous storms, and we were attempting to get a study covered, or the 1966 construction project, and we were not awarded either of those, but there's a possibility going forward for that to happen. update us on the additional sand fencing and plantings and the signs and maps? Mainly, I think we're talking the signs, right? At this
Yeah.
point in time?
Yeah, it was in the minutes last time. The signs have been ordered and they're sitting in my office, but it's going to take coordination to see if the Boy Scouts still need any hours.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, then we're going to have to look at an alternate means to have those put up, which won't be the Public Works Department.
Okay.
So I will reach out to their contact and see if they still need some additional hours.
Okay. Okay. Beach board announcements. Brunswick County Shoreline Consortium met January 15th. David gave a good plug on the importance of the county reaching out to the CRC on the inlet hazard area issue. Brennan was there and explained what was going on with the Merritt flight. It was here for a few days and then it hot-footed it out of here, and that at some point it should come back. David, did you or Christy have any other updates from that meeting?
I was not able to attend that
Oh,
meeting
that's right.
because I was at a different conference, so it would have to be David.
My only comment about updates from that meeting was the surprising lack of other beach issues or beaches inputs and dialogue at that meeting.
Agreed.
It's conspicuously absent. Seems like Holden Beach was the only one that had anything to contribute at that meeting. I was disappointed in that.
Where do you think that comes from? Is it just laziness, or, you know,
All I
being
can
proactive?
speak of is our willingness to participate in that forum, and I hesitate to venture, why that's forthcoming. Maybe they just don't have anything going on and don't have anything to share. Could be something as simple as that. I know that our beach has a lot going on, and I can't imagine why others don't have anything going on. Ballhead Island wasn't there. Sunset Beach wasn't there. It was the first meeting after a holiday. So.
And it was an off-schedule meeting too, remember? They changed it. But you know what, they're usually not there, so.
But they're all doing things. Is it just they're keeping it close to the cuff and they don't want to share, or is it they're so busy they don't have time and they don't see the benefits of sharing and that sort of thing? I don't know.
Okay. The next meeting will be March 18th. If anybody's interested in attending, it's in Darren, Bolivia, at the Government Center. ASBPA, March 24th through 26th in Washington, D.C. The Byways Conference is in April 20th to 21st. The next MOA meeting will be February 19th, 10:30 to 12:30. If anybody's interested in attending, I think Mike plans to go again. They will not be doing the dial-in this time.
And where's that at?
Somewhere.
New-
Craven Community College
Yeah.
and Morehead City. Or is that Newbern?
It's Newbern.
Newbern, my bad.
If anybody's interested, I can send you the email, and it's got the parking pass and that kind of thing. And then our next meeting is February the 27th. Okay, so now we need to do our, well, did anybody have anything else for announcements before we move forward? Okay, then we'll move on to our consensus of report to the Board of Commissioners. Okay, so Christy has brought us the status stuff that she covered. Here's what I've got in this draft that we'll edit. The Inlet Beach Protection Board met January 23rd. The following issues and topics were discussed and addressed. Status of the beach and inlets. Staff provided an overview of current and future projects, efforts and conditions, and issues relative to the beach, strand, and inlets. A copy of the Assistant Town Manager's report to the IBP is attached. In addition, the following topics were discussed. Would you guys like to add something in here, or did we pretty much cover it? Good?
I'm good.
Okay. I'll take that line out that says, in addition, the following topics were discussed. Other updates. Keep off the dune signs which were approved in the adopted budget have arrived and are pending installation. Member Pearson distributed a memo on the Christmas tree project. Over 400 trees were placed along the sand fence on the east end and in the 800 block with the help of the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and Coastal Transplants to help with dune building. Meeting updates. Brunswick County Shoreline Protection IBPD was represented at the January meeting. The next meeting will be March 18th, 2020. The next IBPD meeting will be February 27th, 2010. One attachment, Christie's report. Are there any changes, additions, whatever?
I don't have any changes to that, but I need to go back to the update on the status of the beach and inlets regarding the Lockwood Folly Inlet Dredging Crossing Project. We went right straight in, or I think we segued into the Christmas tree thing. But y'all need to know that that project, because it's core-sponsored, we give money to that. Unlike our town-sponsored project, which has a component of vegetation and sand fence stabilization of the dune written into the permit conditions, since that's a beneficial least cost method of disposal and navigation project, it does not have that same reciprocal type of arrangement in it, and so there are no sand fence and vegetation considerations taken as part of the cores aspect of it. What we neglected to mention is that just as soon as they finish up, there will be sand fence and vegetation installed, towns picking up some of it, and also the Holden Beach Renourishment Association is picking up some of the cost of that. I forget exactly what the split is, the contribution from the Renourishment Association, but I think it's important that we capture that in our minutes or in that report, so that the Renourishment Association can get some visibility, because they are ponying up some money. So I just wanted to make sure that we brought that to light.
Excellent point. Christy, do you want to add that to your memo with the, where you talk about the crossing project?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Okay.
That's good.
That wipes out the funds of the Renourishment Association. So that's the end of that. But it's a really good use, because that sand, I don't know if you've been down there, it's really, really lovely fine sand. So,
And it's important that we get those mechanisms out there just as quick as we can. You know, we commented on the southerly winds are bad for the sand search because it's got the water stirred up, but it blows the sand back on the hill, so it's a good thing to get those mechanisms in place,
to catch it.
especially for that east end.
Yeah.
okay. Is there a motion to adopt that memo then?
Sure, I make a motion to adopt the memo.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That motion carries unanimously. Okay. So, consensus of the report of the board, Christy will add to her memo, right? I'm going to make myself. Okay, we're down to public comment. Patty, do you have anything to?
Yeah, just thinking about the Christmas trees. You're already starting to talk about next year. Obviously, if Oak Island is now saying, how did you do this, they're going to be competition to try to get trees. But have we ever thought about doing a call out to our supply residents? Supply residents use our beach, and it might simply be at the end of the year, at the end of the season, if you clean up your tree and bring it to someplace nearby, we would appreciate because we use these. And it's just a simple thing to think about prior to next year's season. These are the people that use our island. These are our neighbors. We welcome them. This would be a small way for them to give back. Go ahead, David.
Great idea, but it doesn't work.
Why?
We've done it in the past, and it's a nightmare because
They get dumped.
inevitably it's just. I know that you use the term just a simple thing. It is not a simple thing. It ends up being a handling and logistics exercise, and that work ends up falling to Public Works. And what we made a conscious decision, we want to go wholesale with it, with these large bundles of one time hitting it, or we don't want anything to do with it because we've done it before, and it's just the view it and work decline.
Okay.
That was actually Mike's initial plan, was to collect them as well as get them from the stores to maximize the number of trees. And that the idea is that the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts would also help us with wire cutters, clip off anybody that left their lights on or whatever. But it was a storage issue and logistics issue that the town just didn't want to go there.
Well, I mean, with the cost of trees, it's like Food Lion, you never see a tree this is the thing. It's going to get tighter and tighter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Christmas tree shortage because of the recession back 10 years ago. And there were a couple years they weren't planting out in the hills. And we all know that. So it's just going to be tight having to rely on unused trees at big box sources. So it's just
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to get more. I understand, David. So never mind.
Well, and Mike's comment too was that there was a, kind of speaking for Mike here since he's not here, his comment too was that, by other people participating, you create a sense of ownership and participation. This is my beach and I love it and I'm going to help take care of it, and, there's some of those aspects involved too, but.
In the old days, old days, I'm sure you remember, Tim, Len Holden used to let us collect them over in the Beachmark parking lot.
It's exactly what I was thinking, the kind of thing that
Yeah,
drop
for
'em
years
off
that
there.
happened. But I also think that happened for years, and then, quite honestly, I don't know who picked them up there and then put them on the beach, probably town employees. But that was that way like in the 80s and 90s and stuff. He did that for, let everybody do them there, and it worked, It was more of an ad hoc thing, and it worked really well. But I think a lot of people are moving toward artificial trees now, too. So, there's not as many live Christmas trees anymore, especially down here where people aren't here all the time.
Did you have any other comments? Okay.
What was it last meeting, Pat, we talked about, and I think I said maybe it's something that could come through your new, format of a request to the board.
That had to do with, it's not just having dune signs, it's explaining what keep off the dunes means for visitors.
So do some kind of notification, I think was the idea, right? Or education.
It's education for the visitors see a sign, but they don't know the importance. It was that.
So is that something you could put forth to
I can't
us?
speak as a commissioner.
If it's something, yes.
Yeah.
I think you're one step closer with your format. That's the end of that. Thank you.
Okay, if there's does anybody have anything else? Nope. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.